There's something deeply wrong with the modern notion that being harmless is equivalent to being good. That's not true. That's not good at all. That's weakness dressed up as virtue, and there is nothing admirable about weakness when it comes at the cost of your soul, your responsibility, and your potential. You shouldn't aim to be harmless. You should strive to be competent. And not just competent, you should be dangerous and disciplined. Now, let me be clear, being dangerous doesn't mean being cruel or violent or domineering. It means having the capacity for all of that, and choosing not to use it unless absolutely necessary. It means being someone who is capable of great force but voluntarily restrains it for the sake of truth, order, and justice. That's power under control. That's moral strength. See, people respect someone who can bite but doesn't. They trust someone who can fight but only does so to protect, to defend, to uphold what matters. There is a kind of sacred respect for the man or woman who's armed to the teeth with competence and capability, but who walks with humility. That person is dangerous, not because they are a threat to everyone, but because they are a threat to everything false, everything weak, everything corrupt. You're not here to be a passive observer of your life. You're not meant to just sit there quietly, get along with everyone, and hope things go your way. No, you're here to transform chaos into order. You're here to confront the unknown and wrestle it into something meaningful. But you can't do that if you're fragile. You can't do that if you're afraid of your own power. So become someone capable of standing up straight with your shoulders back, facing what's in front of you and saying, I will take responsibility for this. I will bear the weight. I will become strong enough to carry it. Train your body until it becomes a weapon, precise, controlled, reliable. Train your mind until it cuts through confusion like a sharpened blade. Learn to speak the truth, not timidly, not with hesitation, but with clarity and purpose. Then you become the person people look to when things fall apart. You become the one who doesn't flinch when the fire comes. That's what it means to be dangerous. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being capable. Because if you're not capable of being dangerous, then you're not capable of protecting anything. Not your values, not your family, not yourself. So stop aiming to be liked. Start aiming to be strong. Build yourself into someone formidable, someone worthy of respect, someone who can be relied upon when it all goes to hell. Become competent and become dangerous because the world needs people who can bear the burden. The world needs people who can fight, not just to destroy, but to preserve what is good and true and beautiful. And maybe, just maybe, that person is you, but only if you earn it. People have this strange idea nowadays that being harmless somehow makes you good. That if you're soft, if you never raise your voice, if you never push back, if you never fight for yourself or for others, that this makes you virtuous, but that's not virtue, that's weakness, that's cowardice masquerading as morality. And it's dangerous, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you, because it leaves you vulnerable, exposed, and incapable of confronting malevolence when it appears. Goodness is not the absence of capacity for harm. Goodness is the decision to control that capacity. You shouldn't strive to be harmless. That's not a moral achievement. That's just an admission that you're incapable of defending yourself or anyone else. You're no threat to anything, not even to injustice, because you simply lack the means. And if you lack the means, you'll be swept aside by anyone who doesn't share your supposed niceness. That's not how the world works. That's not how life works. You can't walk through life thinking that passivity will save you. You can't avoid conflict forever. Sooner or later, you'll come face with something that wants to destroy what you love. And in that moment, your harmlessness will betray you. It won't protect you. It will doom you. The ideal is not to be harmless. The ideal is to be someone who has mastered their capacity for aggression, who can wield it precisely, who can stand up and push back with full force when necessary, but who chooses restraint as an act of will, not because they're incapable of doing otherwise. That's what makes someone truly good. It's the strength of knowing you can bite, but you don't. You can fight, but you choose peace. You can dominate, but you instead serve and protect. The world respects that kind of person. People trust those who can be dangerous, but who keep that danger in check, because they know deep down, that if something were to threaten them, that person would stand up and fight, and not just fight, but win. So you must ask yourself, do you want to be harmless, or do you want to be strong enough to make a difference? Because only one of those paths leads to respect, to responsibility, to real virtue. Stop aiming for harmlessness. Aim for the kind of disciplined, focused power that underlies genuine strength. That's the path forward. You have to understand something fundamental about life. It's not a game for the faint of heart. You aren't here merely to coast along, avoiding discomfort and confrontation. You're here to cultivate yourself into someone who is competent, someone capable of meeting the demands of life head on. But competence isn't enough. Because competence without courage, without grit, without the willingness to act when it's necessary, falls short. You must also be dangerous. That's not a suggestion. It's a necessity. To be dangerous means you possess the capacity for strength, for boldness, for action. It means that when the moment calls for it, you can step forward, unflinching, and do what others won't. It doesn't mean you walk around threatening people, puffing out your chest, or seeking fights. No, that's foolishness masquerading as strength. To be truly dangerous is to be capable of inflicting serious consequences when pushed, but having the self-mastery not to act on that power unless it is justified. Because life will throw at you everything it can: failure, betrayal, illness, rejection, chaos. And if you're not capable, if you're not dangerous in the face of that, you'll be crushed. You'll be swept away by stronger forces, by people who do not care about your feelings or your intentions. The wolves are real, and if you cannot stand your ground when they circle, you will be devoured. To be dangerous is to be the person who can handle themselves under pressure, someone who can think clearly in high-stakes situations, who doesn't crumble under fear, who has developed the skills, the knowledge, the body, and the discipline to take decisive action. It's not just about physicality, though that matters too. It's about being mentally sharp, emotionally resilient, and strategically wise. And the irony here is that the more dangerous you become, the more peaceful your life becomes. Why? Because people don't tend to provoke those who radiate quiet strength, and you yourself grow calmer, more controlled, because you know, deep in your bones, that you can handle what comes. You don't seek conflict, but you're ready for it. So the task is clear. Stop trying to be harmless. Stop trying to be soft and agreeable at all costs. Cultivate yourself into someone competent enough to master your craft, but dangerous enough to defend what's rightfully yours. That's not arrogance, it's responsibility. Power without control is chaos, it's destruction, it's tyranny, and far too many people misunderstand what it means to be powerful. They think it means dominance, aggression, the willingness to steamroll others to get what you want. But that's not power in its highest form. True power, real, respectable, reliable power is controlled. It's the ability to act with precision, restraint, and responsibility. People often confuse aggression with strength. They think the loudest person in the room, the one who lashes out, the one who intimidates others, is somehow powerful. But that's not strength. That's weakness wearing the mask of aggression. That's a person ruled by impulse, by fear, by insecurity. The truly strong individual doesn't need to raise their voice. They don't need to threaten or bluster. Why? Because they know exactly what they're capable of and they've tamed it. They have mastered themselves first. Control is what separates the fool from the wise man. You see, anyone can lash out when they're angry. Anyone can explode when things don't go their way. That requires no skill, no discipline. But to feel the rising tide of anger, to sense that surge of aggression, and still keep it in check, that's a completely different level of mastery. That's self-possession, and that's what earns respect, not just from others but from yourself. Think about it this way. If you're capable of immense power, but you can walk away from a fight because you choose peace over conflict, you've demonstrated true control. You've proven to yourself and to the world that you're dangerous, but disciplined. And that combination is what people admire. That's what inspires trust, because the person who's dangerous but controlled is the one you want by your side when life turns chaotic. You know they won't panic. You know they won't act rashly. They will stand firm, assess the situation, and act decisively only when it's necessary. That's leadership, that's integrity, that's moral strength. And here's the truth. If you don't develop that control, you will either be consumed by your own aggression or rendered powerless in the face of adversity. You must cultivate it deliberately, through discipline, through hardship, through training. Because the goal isn't merely to be powerful, the goal is to be powerful and in control. That's the foundation of true character. That's where genuine respect begins. Responsibility. That's where strength is born. You don't get stronger by avoiding your duties. You don't grow by shifting the weight of your life onto others. You grow when you confront what needs to be done and you decide voluntarily to carry it. That's the foundation of personal transformation. It's not about comfort. It's not about ease. It's about willingly stepping into the chaos and bearing the burden that's yours to lift. People spend far too much time running from responsibility, convinced that freedom is the absence of obligation. But that's a lie. Real freedom comes from competence, from the ability to handle responsibility without collapsing under it. That's where meaning emerges. That's where you start to discover who you are and what you're capable of. If you want to be strong, you must deliberately seek out the tasks that stretch you to your limits. You have to look at what's broken around you, your life, your relationships, your work. And instead of blaming others or hiding from it, you have to say, "That's mine. I'll fix it." And you won't feel ready, you won't feel capable at first. That's the point. You become capable by taking on more than you think you can handle and forcing yourself to adapt. It's a harsh truth, but life isn't interested in whether or not you're ready. Life is coming, regardless of your preparation. You either rise to meet it, or you get crushed by it, and the only way to rise is through responsibility, through standing up straight and saying, "I will take this on." That's how you forge resilience. That's how you build grit. When you start shouldering responsibility, you begin to change in ways you can't predict. You realize that you can endure far more than you imagined. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance, and instead, you start seeing yourself as the person capable of shaping your own fate. That shift is where real power lies, so stop waiting for someone else to carry the load for you. Stop searching for an easier path. Instead, ask yourself, what can I take responsibility for today that I've been avoiding? And then do it. That's the first step toward becoming strong. That's the first step toward becoming someone who can truly stand their ground in this world. You have to train yourself to become sharp, precise, and formidable on every level, physically, mentally, and verbally, because life doesn't reward the dull, it punishes them. You need to understand that your body isn't just a vessel to carry your mind around, it's an instrument of discipline. If you neglect it, you weaken yourself in ways that ripple across every domain of your life. Start by training your body, not because you want to impress anyone, but because strength is the foundation of resilience. When you voluntarily subject yourself to physical discomfort, lifting, running, pushing beyond your limits, you're teaching yourself a profound lesson, that you can suffer and keep moving forward. That's the gateway to self-respect. That's the seed of confidence, and when your body is strong, your mind follows. They are not separate. They are bound together tightly, but don't stop there. You need to sharpen your mind just as rigorously. Read, study, analyze, seek clarity in your thinking. The world is full of people who drift through life, guided by vague emotions and half-formed ideas. They're easily manipulated. They're easily lost. But when you cultivate a mind that is precise, when you know how to think critically, when you can dissect arguments, when you can see through deception, then you cannot be swayed by nonsense. You become dangerous in the best way, immune to manipulation, armed with reason. And then, perhaps the most overlooked tool, you must sharpen your speech. You need to learn how to articulate yourself clearly, truthfully, and boldly, because your words shape your reality. If you can't speak effectively, you can't think effectively. And if you can't think effectively, you can't act effectively. So you must practice speaking the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Refine your words until they carry weight, until they cut through confusion like a knife. Physical strength, mental clarity, powerful speech, these are not luxuries. These are survival tools. They are weapons of order against the chaos of life. You need all of them, because you will face situations where your body will be tested, where your mind will be challenged, and where your words will either shield you or betray you. Build yourself. Sharpen every edge. Because the sharper you become, the more capable you are of confronting the difficulties of existence without being crushed by them. That's how you forge yourself into someone formidable, someone who can stand firm, no matter what storm comes their way. You have to ask yourself, when everything collapses, when the storm comes, who do people turn to? Who do they trust? It's not the agreeable, soft-spoken, fragile individual who avoids discomfort at all costs. It's the one who has built themselves into something solid, something unshakable. It's the person who has walked through fire and come out stronger. It's the one who's competent, dangerous, and controlled. The one who stands tall when everyone else falls apart. When a crisis strikes, most people panic, they freeze, they wait for someone else to act, someone else to fix it, but there's always a small percentage of people who don't wait. They don't collapse under the pressure. They step forward, they speak clearly, they take action decisively, and why? Because they've prepared for it. They've been through enough adversity to know how to handle chaos. They've trained themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and that preparation reveals itself when it matters most. You must become that person. You must cultivate yourself into the one who others can rely on, the one who keeps their head while others lose theirs. That doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of deliberate effort, constant self-discipline, and relentless responsibility. You need to stop worrying about being liked. You need to stop aiming for comfort and start aiming for strength. You must be willing to bear the burden that others can't or won't. It's not about arrogance. It's not about superiority. It's about necessity, because in every family, in every workplace, in every community, there comes a time when things fall apart, and someone has to step up. Someone has to hold the line. And if not you, then who? Your task is to prepare yourself for that role, to become competent enough that others look to you in times of uncertainty, to become disciplined enough to handle the pressure without flinching, and to be dangerous enough that people know you can act decisively when the situation demands it. That's not an option. It's an obligation. The world needs people who are capable of standing firm when everything else is crumbling. People who can take action not just for themselves, but for the sake of others. You must become that person, not just for your own survival, but because others are depending on you, whether they realize it yet or not.